and so if you have strong communication, would be valued, and I think you'll have a good experience. Also, any issue areas that you're passionate about or that you have a particular experience with, either through your major and or you've done work with other groups, that kind of thing. And both of those are important because they're predictors of success of your internship. It shows that you would be able to do what most interns wind up doing, which is writing letters or researching legislation and writing hearing summaries and those kind of things. And then also following your passion makes it relevant to what eventually your career will be. So I'd say those are the two things most important.
And I'll just piggyback off of Sarah, the communications piece. So often you are asked to look at an issue, and really the ability to look at what is very often a very nuanced, detailed policy, and to be able to synthesize that into a one-pager. We talk about those a lot. So those kind of analytical skills, at least from my experience, are very important. So
I would further that too, just learning how to write with brevity. If you only have 1,000 words or 1,000 characters, you gotta make the most of what you got, because that in of itself is gonna let the folks who are on the committee know sort of where your headspace was. But your passion should bleed through. And I know that a lot of you, your passion may not be clear, you may have 2 or 3, but that should sort of try to shine through the application on the whole, because then, we'll know what sort of reach, what sort of ask for, what office might be the best fit for you. I think maybe there's 1 or 2 stats majors here, but I think maybe all of us, most of us have taken intro stats at some point in our lives. We know how to do it as a science major, but I'm not line of best fit. So when we have the students that we've selected and then the offices that are seeking a U.S. intern, we try to best match them with a variety of factors, because we want you to be in an office you're happy with. We also have an office I'm very happy and very pleased with you. And so just be honest. And I'll just go back to that pillar of everyone has a place in policy. Every industry has a place in policy. Whether it's being impacted, it's being impacted. And yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
A question from the folks at home. Laura is asking, if I'm an out-of-state resident, is there still a possibility for me to apply to TIP?
Absolutely. Yeah, as long as you are a University of Florida enrolled student, you're eligible to apply to both the TIP and WIP program.
Awesome, thanks. And then another question from the audience is, student panelists, could you share your emails or preferred contact? So if prospective students want to reach out to you in the future to talk about the intern experience, they can.
Yeah, so you could email, it's Gabriella with 1 L, Perez, the number 1 at ufl.edu.
Yeah, and my email is Karina Bravo, Karina with a K at ufl.edu.
Okay, and mine is my last name Riumbau, Riumbauh, and then at Gmail, and then I'll give my phone number here too. I'll send the information after the meeting.
Then you so this could be either for the interns or part of the relations team, but do the interns have a more active or passive role in the legislative and executive affairs?
So with my experience over the summer, I felt that it was a bit more of an active role, since the 3 of us worked on a project together on doubling the health, and we were able to meet with Congress members and their offices and talk to them on what we thought about doubling the health and kind of propose to them the policy.
And I would definitely like to say that with the U.S. Federal Relations Office, it's a very small office. It's not a large office, so it was a great chance for like 3 interns to really get to talk to the staff there and be able to work together. It always felt like we were just a strong team, and that we always had the ability to discuss anything we wanted to do, and we received always valuable work that is something rare in an internship, especially when it's a large organization. So there's definitely a benefit in working with a small organization like U.S. Federal Relations.
Yeah, in my experience, like working in the legislative office, it was mostly just doing like assignments that they gave me, like write this memo for this meeting or these remarks. And so sometimes staffers would give you assignments based on your interests. So if they know you're related to foreign policy, they would try to give you more of that. But that's basically what it was doing assignments.
I'd just add in that Karina told me an interesting story about when she was working for Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz and how tied you are to the current news cycle. So things feel very immediate.
Right. So while I was interning in her office was when the Surfside building collapse happened, and that is in her district. And so, while I would have been at home watching it on the news and watching her, because she was on the news almost every day, I was in her office, like listening to the staffers, like how they were going to strategize like her media appearances and how best to respond. And so I thought it was really cool as someone who's interested in these things, to see like behind the scenes how those things are coordinated. And
Can I add one thing to that too? And that is that a lot of internships in congressional offices in particular may be in the area that's generally known as constituent relations. And sometimes a lot of students think, well, that means I'm sending emails and answering phone calls. Yes, you are doing that some, but also you're doing that on any issue that your representative works on. So you actually, from that perspective, you get the broadest overview of everything that your representative, whoever you're working with, actually works on, right? So sometimes we do hear students say occasionally, oh, well, I was answering letters and emails and stuff, answering the phone. That's actually, if you keep your eyes and ears open, that's actually a really good opportunity because you really get exposed to everything that is going on in that office by doing that. And then you can be proactive and sort of identify spots that you want to jump on and say, oh, this is really interesting to me. I'd love to do some more work. And you may be able to sort of create some opportunities for yourself to do some additional things that maybe you never even thought of when you first started there as well. So it's kind of a proactive approach to it as well. Then
I would even say with the active versus not indirect sort of role, you have to be an active learner. So take an inventory of things, right? There's a lot of action that's going on. It might not be in your office, but it's in all these other offices. And there's a lot that you got to size up. And a lot of it's quiet, but you got to take it in. And so I'll speak to the legislature and even DC. These folks don't live permanently in Tallahassee. Most of them don't, or in DC. They're coming to the Capitol because they have business, right? They have funding to secure. They have constituents they need to represent. They have bills that they want passed. So that is the premise that you should think of, right? I'm not going to leave my farm in Marion County to go to Tallahassee for 60 days after an apartment for 2 months unless I have objectives I need to do. So once you're placed with an office, you'll get a good feel of that office's priorities, sort of, how the leadership is going to sort of move the session. But there's 120 state house members, there's 40 state senators, and they're all diverging, right? They all have different priorities. Some of it aligns, some of it doesn't, but it's a lot. And so I think probably 50% of your time or more, you're taking things, you're learning how people interact with each other, how pulling this lever releases this pulley and vice versa. And so the strategy is what you're really learning, and that'll serve you wherever you go after. I'll quote Governor Graham when he was the governor. He said, governing Florida is like governing Italian city-states, right? You got the Tampa crowd, you got the Orlando December crowd, you got the Panhandle, you've got Jacksonville, Greater Duval, you've got Miami-Dade. These are all they're like their own city-states, and they govern their own ways. But they come to Tallahassee for 60 days because they have business to tend to. And so keep that in the back of your mind. Why was this? Why would Hakeem and Sarah co-sponsor a bill, right? Why would I be a signatory on Gabby's bill, right? There's something going there, all right? And so there's a lot that, sort of got to unpack and think through. And about being an active learner, and those of you who apply to the programs and are accepted, I'll do some pre-departure steps with you, so you'll see some of this. But, if your chief legislative assistant is going to a meeting, ask them, hey, can I go to this meeting with you? Can I sit in? Can I listen? And
No, I hate to interrupt, but just for the camera. Okay, sorry.
Ask them, can I go to this meeting with you? Can I sit in on this? Can I deliver this to this office? And I know, well, Senator so-and-so has 3 LAs. Well, why is that? well, Senator so-and-so's office is very, it's marshed out. He's got a lot of territory to cover. So he needs 3 people in three different offices. So a lot of the learning will fall on you too. And that really speaks to just the maturity of the intern.
So we have a couple of questions. So the order is going to be you, and then you, right? Ask away.
So hi again. I didn't introduce myself the first go around, but my name's Rhiannon. I'm a first year. I'm double majoring in public health and data science. And this question goes out to anyone because you all are very advocates in your fields. What advice would you give to a first year like me who's trying to break into that field of advocacy, whether it's in regards to your experience with your internships or just at UF or in general?
So my number one advice would be dive into your academics, really enjoy your classes and learn from your classes because this is the only opportunity you're going to get to be an undergraduate student at UF, learning whatever your major is, and that will help you in the long run. And in the future, you will be an expert in what you studied, so you'll be able to be an advocate on that end.
Another thing I would say is to try to get as much experience as you can. Sometimes doing work and what you want to do kind of tell you how much you like it or don't like it. Last year I worked on a campaign. This year I worked on this internship, and both taught me different things, what I like, what I don't like. And I think it's really helped me kind of make a decision how I want to move forward now that I'm graduating in spring. So just get experience and just enjoy it and see if you enjoy it or not.
I might add something to that. Florida Sea Grant prides itself on being non-advocacy. And so we run our research and our extension programs in a manner in which our agents and our researchers supply science to decision makers and let those decision makers look at that science, look at the data, and then make decisions based on that. So by going to Tallahassee, you don't necessarily have to be an advocate for anything, but we would hope that you would have some interest or passion or sound scientific information that you can provide to those legislators to base a decision upon.
And I just add from Washington point of view, data is the new gold, and so you picked a wonderful major to focus on. And as Gabriella said, your faculty and your experience there is great. UF faculty are in their DNA to be helpful and help you achieve your goals. So be sure to take advantage of the Bremer Center and your own faculty that you encounter for them to assist you with your progress.
I believe you're next.
Hi, my name is Derek Evans. I'm a third year political science and economics major, and my question was for the TIP, Sea Grant, and possibly with advisors. And it's basically, is there a place for me within Sea Grant? Since I'm an economics and political science major, I don't have any knowledge about biology, but I have a whole bunch of knowledge about my own sphere, or would I have to go through TIP? Because one of the things I am very, very strongly trying to advocate for is the national and state dumping policies. For example, Piney Point in Tampa. Or is there a place for me in Sea Grant, or would there be a place for me in TIP or WIP, and I could work with Sea Grant through those others?
Well, I guess I could feel that first. Certainly, there's a place for you in Sea Grant. Our director is an economist. The idea is that you bring a kind of a unique perspective from your educational background to addressing coastal and ocean issues, and so we would absolutely welcome the perspective of a political scientist or an economist. In addition to other people from interested in other subjects. Yes, certainly.
Yeah, and I would echo that. Like I said, one of the things that I think is so great is that this is open to all majors. And just think about it in the sense of in your political science classes, and you take that and you talk to one of your friends who's majoring in something completely different. That different perspective, that different thought. I mean, you get into your own box sometimes, and just being able to have someone that will bring a different perspective to whatever project, issue, legislation. It's a really important skill, and certainly one that we would welcome.
Yeah, and that just speaks generally to the center's more broad mission that Dr. J spoke of wanting to expand our footprint in every college that we can across all undergraduate majors. Both of these programs are gonna, make you guys well-rounded. It's gonna sharpen your critical thinking skills, and it's just gonna make you the best Gator graduates that we can produce. The Bob Graham Center for Public Service is open, because we want to train students and make them well-rounded before they graduate. We want to pursue bigger and better things. And so this is really a good piece of that. And the exponential learning programs that I oversee, that's my main goal. And as long as you show promise and you're a hard worker and, you got a letter or two, I think, for someone to vouch for you, you're, qualified to apply to the program and, go through the interview process. But yeah, I was just thinking, there was a student in my cohort, she was a dance major through the College of Fine Arts. Now she has her own lobby shop in Tallahassee. So, undergrad, that was her academic part, was dance and fine arts, and now she's, a lobbyist, and that's what she does full time for a living. So, don't sell yourself short, and you're not married to your academic majors, but they also, your academic background will, give you some, training to help you in whatever you pursue.
So the order for questions is you, then Nisha in the back, and then Darren, right? Yeah. Okay, cool.
I have two short questions. The first one has to do with the financial housing assistance. Is it automatically given to you, or do you have to apply again for it?
So I'll go ahead and fill that one. So for both programs, there's a living stipend. So for Tallahassee, there's a $1,200 living stipend, and then for Banner for Talty. For Tallahassee, there's a $1,200 living stipend that is given to you, and then for the WIP program, there's a $1,500 living stipend, and that's because different cities with different costs of living. But the stipend itself is sent directly to your student account based off of your UFID number, so a process like a scholarship. And then for the housing, both TIP and WIP, the center covers your full housing costs, so your rental and your utilities and all of that. That is not given directly to you. That is something that we pay out of the center, and so you don't have to worry about it. But the living stipend is direct deposited through whatever financial account you have set up with the Student Office of Financial Aid.
I have a second
Yes.
question. For the three of you who were able to do this program, did you have time to take another course, an online course simultaneously that has to do with your major, or did you just take the supplemental internship course? That's it. So, I was studying for the LSAT during this internship program, and that took a lot of my time, and I was able to successfully take the exam and successfully do the internship. I did take another course, but I think kind of goes along with it. If that helps.
I chose not to do any other academic courses, mainly because my academic time didn't necessarily need it, and I want to focus all of my time on the internship. I think it's possible to do another coursework at the same time. Although my internship wasn't in person, so I think that plays a part. If you're in person, you have more travel time or more time dedicated to events or enjoying the DC area. So you can make time for it if you're interested in it. But I honestly personally wouldn't recommend it because I think there's a lot to just observe and enjoy of just doing leadership alone. It's a once in a lifetime experience that isn't just worth splitting time with a campus class. But if it's needed, then of course go for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I worked 40 hours a week in person most of the time, and you really don't have time to do that much schoolwork if you're trying to explore the city and at the same time. I would suggest it.
I was thinking about maybe taking the Warrington internship course. That was what I had on my mind. It's supplemental.
What I'll say to that is, all of you are, coming through from academic backgrounds, a lot of you are different colleges. Any of the academic credit questions, please field them directly through me. So I'll work with you one-on-one to make sure that you're doing what you need to be taking, keeping the credits that you need to do. This internship that you decide to do through the Bob Graham Center, we have internship credit that we can assign as well. I've worked with some students who they want to do an internship, but they don't want to take more credits than they need to because they've got an excess of credits. And I've got other students who need to, maintain full-time status at 12 for a variety of scholarships that they're eligible for. So Everyone's unique in that regard. So just please, you'll work one-on-one with me after you are selected for either of the programs. The only requirement is what Sarah mentioned with TIP. So currently with TIP, all students who are accepted in the TIP program do take a course on Florida politics, but it's just you and your cohort of interns. So it is an academic course, history credits, but it really is supplemental to your internship. And so that's one thing that you will register for through TIP. We are trying to develop that in the WIP program, but we are not there yet. But hopefully in future semesters, that'll become a situation. We'll have that, going for you all. But yeah, I'm very flexible with credits. As long as I'm not breaking any rules as a registrar, I'll entertain, to get you all ready to go. So.
All right, next up is Misha, Darren, and then at the back.
Yes, hello everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for the speakers for speaking to us and answering our question. My question is as follows. If and when accepted into an internship program, what is some advice you can give in order to fully engage oneself within that internship while simultaneously making sure their work is contributing or benefiting that organization?
So I'll take this one. Not necessarily from the TIP program, but for other internships that I have managed or been a part of, I think I would just reiterate what Hakeem said about being an active learner, an active listener, and just being aware of what's around you. I can tell you that there is work for you. 60 days may seem like 2 months, that's a long time. It goes so fast in Tallahassee. These folks are doing just a yeoman's effort to, manage, I think we're averaging 2,500 or so bills that are filed each session, maybe 175, 200 make it across that finish line to get to the governor's desk. So there is work to be done. Just show up, be excited, and I guarantee you that there will be someone who will take you under their wing and, really enjoy working with you and appreciate all that you're able to provide to that office.
One advice I would have for interns is, or like soon to be interns, is to, if you're out of the position, try to do always more than the minimum. So if you're tasked to do this one thing, try to find ways to do a little more than that. I have an example where I was asked to go to this association meeting about a certain tax policy, and then during that, a certain bill was tossed out, like mentioned in the meeting, that seemed pretty new. I wasn't sure if my boss had heard of it. So I emailed him afterwards saying, hey, here's what you requested, here's the summary of the meeting, and they mentioned this tax bill. Would you like to learn more about it? I'll write a policy before you. And he said, yeah, that sounds great. So then I did that for him as well. I got to learn more about that specific bill, and he got a little extra for my work. And I think that's a nice relationship where you can really shine as an intern and really enjoy the process and gain more understanding and more knowledge as well.
I would just add in that I think both Matt and Hakeem have alluded to this, but that even if you're given a task that seems, elemental or something like answer the phone, there's a lot. If you are actively participating in that, you will learn something from it. And those are key functions of these congressional offices and the state legislators' offices is constituent relations. And so you can, it's glass half full or empty. And if you have the full perspective, I think you'll get more out of it because even just taking, oftentimes interns have to take congressperson's guests around Capitol Hill and literally show them the Capitol. That's an opportunity to meet someone that's important enough to the member of Congress that they're getting a special tour and for you to learn their stories and make another connection. And I just add in Washington, as I'm sure in Tallahassee in many ways, almost everybody was an intern at one moment. And so, for example, when our interns were doing their lobby project on the Pell Grant, all the staff that we spoke to said, oh, I was an intern once too. And you'll encounter that time and time again. So if you are interested in something that someone's doing, express your interest in it and they'll be delighted to talk to an intern and share their story with you. So there's more open doors than you might realize.
Yeah, and I'll add to that with I know like constituent work, what Sarah is saying, with people come to DC, people come to Tallahassee because they have objectives and they want to get done. But if, you know, if I'm answering a phone, let's say Gus, your constituent, you call me, and I pick up the phone, I'm an intern, and he's talking about, you know, orange prices or this, that, and the third about agriculture. I may just say, okay, thank you so much, Gus Duran. I'm going to make a note of that, hang up the phone. And then I may talk to my co-intern and say, hey, you know, this person, Gus, he's just so concerned about oranges, da, da, da. But don't belittle that, because to Gus, that may very well be his livelihood in that district, right? That's telling a lot of his story. And so for things that we might think are trivial from our own backgrounds, it could mean the world to somebody else. And that's what I sort of mean when I talk about strategy, right? Because it's not really what the it is, it's understanding why the it is important, how the it is going to interact with other bills, right? Who is displacing whom else and why. And so think all those things through. It could be oranges, water, soil, doesn't matter. So you always want to just think sort of what the topical is that will change through. But yeah, and I mean, I'd say like back to your question about the active learning, right? You just want to be active, go to the meetings, you know, don't push the boundaries, but, you know, go there, you know, listen, take notes, take an inventory. I know when I was in Tallahassee, there were a slew of offices that I did not know exist. And as soon as I was like, oh, this is an office, I'm like, all right, Google them. What does this office do? When was it founded? And now my perspective is broad. Now I know where to sort of look and who does what. So, yeah.
Darren?
So hi, I'm Darren Peters. I'm a third-year computer science and political science major dual degree. My focus with policy and just my degree and like professional thing in general is cybersecurity and AI development. But however, I do have a lot of interest in international relations and internal like local like state relations as well. Does that opportunity, like, even though I may want to focus on like during the internship with like that cybersecurity aspect, does the opportunity present itself for me to like branch out a little bit into like foreign relations or like state relations? And how and like does it?
One thing I would say is that I can't speak too much on since I worked in the U.S. relations, there wasn't a lot of chance for say foreign policy work, but there was a lot of work on technology, cybersecurity, because UF had a lot of like tech, computer science stuff that I ended up, even though it wasn't necessarily my interest at times, I ended up doing entering a lot of meetings about those topics and being able to learn a lot about it despite not expecting in the beginning. So there's definitely a large field for it within UF Federal Relations.
So when you are in the internship program, you have the opportunity to tell who you're interning for, what your interests are, and what you would like to see or what you would hope to learn during your experience there. And they're very catering to that. And if you have no idea what you want to see and you have an open mind, they will also allow you to see different aspects of what's possible and what's out there. So say midway through your internship, if you're like, oh, I don't like health policy anymore, it would be okay to go and tell them, is it okay if I start looking into another topic? And they're very accommodating.
And I just add, your major is perfect for the times. Right now, there is a race with China and concerns about cybersecurity. And so the technology race with China and for research and development, who's going to be the world powerhouse there is neck and neck. And the concerns, the policy concerns around that having to do with science and security are at the highest levels ever. So I think that there's a lot of interest within the Florida delegation. We have senators and members of Congress serving on foreign relations and international relations committees, as well as intelligence. And certainly the University of Florida, as an international university, we are very involved in the science and security issues as well. So there is a nice nexus of your skills and with issues that are going on at the national level, but also on the state level. The state of Florida has been very involved in those issues as well.
And even, at your local level, some of these local governments have experienced some issues with cybersecurity that, that they're now facing those sorts of questions too. So, I mean, it really is all levels of government. That is something that's at the forefront of policymakers, local government, federal government. So.
At the back
and then we're almost at time, so we have 2 more questions. If you guys want to ask them, stay an hour forever, hold your peace. So, Matt.
Hello, my name is Markel Ogletree. I'm a second-year sociology major, and I'm minoring in Spanish. My question is for the 3 former interns. I'm wondering what experiences during your undergraduate career prior to applying, and what qualities you hold. Like, what do you feel from those experiences made you a competitive applicant? And then also I'm wondering, what advice would you give to somebody who is interested in these internships but may feel a little intimidated as far as entering like the public service sphere, like in government relations?
Yeah, so I would say to build your resume, start small. It looks intimidating to go intern in DC, but that's not where you start, right? You don't go straight 0 intern in DC. Start at the local level. It's what I did. I interned at the elections office in Washington County, got experience, got things to say, and also like I've been refining like my writing skills. So if you have opportunities to do that, do so, because that comes in really handy when you're writing a cover letter. So it's kind of a marriage of like your writing skills and the experience that you've like accrued over your career. So that's what I would say. I mean, no one is, off the bat, like, no one has like the experience that makes them like the perfect intern, right? So it's just a matter of like capitalizing off of what you've done and building up to something that, is more intimidating.
Yeah, I agree with her. I think having the ability to make the best of the situations you're in. So if you are an executive member of a club, make that a situation where you will learn and be able to use that in a future experience, like in a future job application. So you never know what kind of skills you are going to acquire from what you're doing. And it doesn't need to, like you said, it doesn't need to be anything big or anything out of this world. A simple, learning skills through different avenues will lead you to the same pathway and just attaining the skills. That makes sense. And the writing also, I focused my 4 years on refining my writing since I want to be a lawyer. I've always been very adamant in knowing how to write well. So I think that has really helped me as well.
Yeah, I would say any professional experience is good experience. This can range from just basically honestly any good resume experience. So from like past job experience, could be just like a job at Publix or something, to campus activity, from research to club work, or a prior internship if you've done one like in the past. Prior to this internship, I worked on a campaign and I was able to develop a lot of professional skills through there as well, alongside some research I did. So I think a couple of those definitely helped me like be able to like get this internship and then also proceed with how I plan the future as well.
I would say about the intimidation, I think that was the word you used. For the intimidation piece, you shouldn't feel intimidated. We've got a lot of, as a center, we've got a lot of very supportive staff. We're a small staff, but we're a supportive staff. I'm the program coordinator for both of these programs. I'm very attentive to my phone and email. I don't let things just not be addressed. I think, I work with Karen on placements. I work with Sarah. I work with others. I'm always in the loop. If you ever feel that something may be too much or intimidating or something in your office seems odd, I will be on it as soon as I know about it. And I don't say that lightly. I'm a personal injury attorney. I'm barred in 2 states. When I start asking questions, people tend to not like that, but if I'm asking them, it's for a reason. And so these programs are for you all to develop professionally and to find success. And so if that's being compromised, then, I need to know about it. Dr. Jacobs will know about it. And, we will make sure that things run the way they're supposed to, and just take that for what it is. But, intimidation, that's going to happen. It's part of growth. It's part of, getting stronger and, learning more and, growing yourselves as, young professionals. So, but I wouldn't feel intimidated to the point where you should not be getting the success that you need.
And I think that ends it. So thank you all for coming, and we hope to see your application.
Thank you, everybody. If you are unable to sign a sheet, if you could do that, we have an actor count. And then we also have business